think if I hit that button. This is being recorded today, and I want to welcome Emma, who is in London town, Emma Angold, and Kimmy Cotter, also known as Kimberly these days. And they both graduated in 2013 from LC, and they both took my class. And I have a couple of my officers telling me that they're getting COVID tests right now so that they can't be here. But welcome to the Photo Club, LC La Cañada High School Photo Club. What the goal of the Photo Club is to introduce students to different types of media around photography, specifically art photography and also commercial photography. So those two ends is how we're trying to expose students to what photography can give you. One of my ideas is that we do the LCHS Alumni Series because we are in COVID time. And I know that people are finally sitting down or home or available to me. Whereas before I might have said, hey, I'm going to do a series. Would you come in? And people were like, oh yeah, sure. No, I'm working. So at least now there's a little pause, and I want to record not only for my legacy, 14 years at La Cañada, but also where you are in your life's journey 7 years after leaving LC. So I really appreciate you coming. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to give you, I think I can give you hosting permission.
I'm going to boot everyone out.
That sounds like you. So I'm going to give you both hosting permission, and that way you can not only share your screen, but also do things like boot people out. So I'm going to change my view a little bit so that when I'm recording, the speaker will be the person who gets the full screen. So welcome, LA to London. And who wants to go first?
I think I'm going to go first.
All right, cool. So let me just close my window because I don't have a dog, but my neighbors do.
All right, let me start sharing my screen. Google Chrome. One moment.
So before you start, tell us a little bit about you, where you at, what's going down.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Emma Angold. I am class of 2013 LCHS graduate. I am currently living in London. I am kind of a photographer, but mostly a content creator, but I've also got a full-time job. I work at Tate Galleries, which is like one of the biggest museums in the UK. I work as an art handler, which means that I get to hang all of the work in the galleries, which is pretty freaking cool. But that's where I am right now. And yeah, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my journey as a photographer and content creator. So yeah. So I took Miss G's class for 3 years in high school. I took photography 1, photography 2, and in my senior year, I did an independent project in photography as well. I just went all in with photography because I loved Miss G in her class so much, and I felt like photography really was a medium that made sense for me in the art world. And Miss G encouraged me to eventually start taking classes at Art Center, which is just around the corner from all of you at LCHS. And I took their Saturday High photography classes. And that's kind of where I got my love for film photography from. They introduced me to shooting in film instead of digital photography. And I really got into using disposable cameras to really capture things in the world and show things that I see in a sort of more artistic way than typical like digital snaps that people get. all around. So that's really where my love of film photography began. I then went to university. I went to the University of San Diego in San Diego, and I didn't really know what I wanted to study at first. I thought maybe I would go into business and maybe do photography on the side. Wasn't really sure. I ended up taking a business class and I didn't really like it. So I decided to go full on fine arts, and I majored in fine arts, emphasis in photography and drawing. And I was lucky enough to have parents that helped support me in that and were willing to support me no matter what I wanted to do. And even though it was art, which isn't necessarily one of the most high paying careers you can get. But yeah, so I wanted to show some of my like most prominent work from my time in undergraduate. And basically, this is my senior thesis project I did. I went around my area of San Diego and I captured mattresses that had been discarded throughout my, like, around where I lived. So every weekend I would go out on my bike for a couple hours and just find these discarded items throughout the city. And I was really capturing them and like capturing their essences and kind of trying to think of them as portraits rather than just pictures of objects, and really capture their stories, because a lot of them, they're dilapidated, they've been thrown out, they don't feel happy. So kind of capturing their sadness, or like some of them are even trying to stand tall even though they're broken. And I ended up collating 42 images of mattresses into my final degree show, and had them all lined up in a grid, and they're on two walls across from each other, and they kind of spoke back and forth across the room, sharing their stories and really bringing the audience in to see something that is usually overlooked. Like, you go through a city, you don't necessarily see the things people throw out and think, oh, that's what I want to photograph. That's what I want people to see. But that's what it became for me. And it really became about collecting these items and like showing them off and giving them the attention that I felt that they deserved. And I really, really enjoyed studying visual arts, and it really gave me a chance to focus on sharing stories in a more like conceptual way than just it being quite linear, which I had found in some other mediums. But yeah, I then decided to go on and do a master's degree in photography, and that brought me all the way out here to London, where I studied at the Royal College of Art, which is a 2-year master's degree program. And they have loads of different artistic programs like sculpture and painting and drawing and stuff too. But I did photography because I just can't get away from it. It is my medium. And when I got to London, I kind of continued along the same path that I was on in undergrad. And I kept exploring the streets and finding these objects throughout my city, and trying to capture them and see not their brokenness, because it's not about that, but like trying to capture their abandonment and the waste of it all, if that makes sense, and kind of the sadness that they all hold. And instead of just kind of continuing along the flat plane of that, I wanted to elevate it further and go more in depth into how I was seeing these objects. And so I found this chair. This was a very, very, very special chair to me. It was a chair that I found on the street, and it was in a bunch of pieces. I had all of the pieces, pretty much all of them, that I could use to build the whole chair. And so I took this broken chair and I brought it into the photographic studio, and I started to explore it and do an in-depth study of this object and see if I could figure out why I was collecting these things. And so this is one of my favorite images from that series, and this was taken on film. Everything so far has been taken on film. I just kind of became obsessed with medium format film specifically because I liked the nice square image. Something about that really appealed to me. And this is one of my favorites from that because I chose to light the chair in a way that completed the chair. It's only half of it, but the shadow really fills in the other half, and it holds it into one piece instead of having it be divided into two. And so it's really completing it and making it whole again, trying to make these things whole again. And I think that was part of what I was trying to do this whole time, is make these things whole again. And maybe that's a metaphor for trying to make myself whole again. But that's another story for another time. This is about my photography. So I brought that in, and I was really enjoying the series. I had this whole thing planned. So this was kind of at the end of my first year of my master's, and I was going to continue along this whole line during my second year and continue with this chair and really explore it further and push it more. Somewhere along the line, my chair got thrown away, which was a really difficult time for me. Like, I didn't realize I could hold such an attachment to this object that I had grown so fond of, and it was a loss. I was really upset because my process had been interrupted by someone throwing away this chair without my permission, even though I had it labeled saying "don't throw away." So whoever did that. But anyways, so instead I had to restructure my practice and pivot a little bit and think about why this chair was so important, and what it was meaning to me. And so I started replacing the chair with my partner. I started photographing myself with my partner and thinking about what a chair is and thinking about how I can make my partner into a chair and use him as support, and really think about what that means, and what a partner is. And I noticed something in these pictures. They all had these moments of touch. You could see in these three images, it was like touch of hands, and that sort of touch and support that my partner is giving to me in these images. I really wanted to hone in on that and focus on it. And so I started, these are crops from bigger images that I had taken, and I really wanted to, like I said, focus in on that. And this was all in the studio as well, and it's sort of evolved. It started running to a whole different thing, and things got more complicated, and I took myself out of the equation, and I added other people in, and sort of brought it into these weird abstract postures of people. And so this is an image that's actually three people in a sort of balancing position, holding each other up and carrying each other and offering each other support. And it turned into a landscape all of a sudden. It was no longer, they were no longer portraits. Like the objects that I was taking pictures of before, they were portraits, but now I'm taking pictures of people, and suddenly it's become a landscape. And so I sort of took this idea of landscape and made it about the tones and textures of the skin, and tried to mute the identities of the people by hiding their faces and giving them neutral clothes to wear that like are totally indescript. And I sort of started flipping the images on their sides and creating this world where gravity didn't exist anymore, and sort of looking at these moments of between these people, still really focusing in on the points of contact or like apartness, like the image on the right with the feet, like it kind of, sorry, excuse me, I need water. I'm talking too much, I'm too excited. It reminds me of like the what's the, you know, the famous Sistine Chapel hands where they're like reaching for each other, but it's feet instead. And so it sort of brings it into this new universe. And I ended up displaying these images in various sizes on the wall. And even like there's one on the ceiling at the top there, and really creating this universe of my collected moments of touch. And it was kind of, it was nearly a 360, like nearly a panorama around of this world that I'd created in different sized images. And I felt like that was a really, like, it was really fun. In the end, I really enjoyed it, and I loved taking the pictures of the people and printing them out and putting them on the wall. But at the same time, I was getting quite tired of the medium. Not the medium, I like photography, but like tired of the black and white, tired of the formal like idea of being an artist and thinking about things in an artist sort of way. And so I decided to create something new and slightly different. And my practice really changed a lot. And I decided to go into a whole different route. Like since moving to London, I have become absolutely obsessed with houseplants. As you can probably see in my background, absolutely obsessed with houseplants. And I was really struggling to find content about how to take care of them that wasn't like a shaky iPhone video that's too zoomed in and some lady talking about how sometimes they water a plant. Like that wasn't doing it for me in this world. And so I created a YouTube channel and an Instagram page all about houseplants and how to care for them, and like just devoting myself and my photographic skills to that, because I couldn't find what I wanted. And so I figured I've got the skills. I learned all these things throughout all of my time in photography, like literally since Miss G's class. That's where I learned how to edit videos, all the way through university and my master's degree, and using all these things to create content that people wanted on the internet, or at least I wanted, and I think other people do too, because I've got subscribers and stuff, you know.
How many followers do you have?
Nearly 23,000 on Instagram and nearly 14,000 on YouTube.
I think you have a following.
It baffles me to this day. I still don't quite understand it. But anyways, so to go along with my YouTube, which was kind of like the reason I started this journey, I figured it'd be really good to start an Instagram as well, because that's how you can advertise yourself nowadays. That's how you market to people. That's where people are going. So this is the best place to market myself. And so I created an Instagram account to accompany my YouTube. And I figured I'd use my photography skills that I'd learned as well this whole time to really create aesthetically pleasing photographs of these plants. And part of my goal was to create content that like people who didn't necessarily love houseplants would want to watch and like enjoy and find satisfying. And I wanted to make it engaging as possible, because that's the whole point of the internet and like social media, is to like engage. And I did, and I really enjoyed it. And just taking pictures of my plants just makes me happy. And like, it even got to the point where I made merch. Earlier this year, I created merch, and I did everything from designing it to getting them like drop shipped, and like doing the entire photography campaign and advertising it for myself, and taking all these pictures, working with myself as a model, and another one of my plant friends doing the flat lays, and really thinking about this as a product and how I can sell it and what I would want to see as a consumer, and really look at it like that. And that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. And in the end, I am at this point now where brands are coming to me and asking me to advertise their products in return for money. Good old money. Right? And they're doing this because they like the aesthetic, they like the vibe that I'm putting out. And I absolutely love creating content for them. Like, you should see, whenever I get any product, I'm like, okay, how can I best light this? And how can I frame this so that people want to see it? How can I create the ideal image in their mind? And like, I probably go a bit too far when it comes to like how intensely I go for advertising things. Like, most people probably wouldn't go as hard as I do, but you know, this is just my nature. I have this photographer's brain that goes all the way with these things. And I absolutely love it. And it's hard work. I'm not going to lie to you there. I hustle hard. Like I said, I'm doing this in addition to a full-time job. I wake up 2 hours before I need to leave to work to edit my videos before I go to work. I edit videos on my lunch break. Like, it's not easy. It really isn't, but the hustle is worth it because I absolutely love doing this. And like, it's where I want to be going. It's where I would love to see myself in a year down the line. I'd love to see myself not having a full-time job and literally doing content creation as my full-time job, because that's what makes me happy. I love doing this. So yeah, let's open it up for questions.
Yes, let's open up for questions. Isabella said, I have a retail marketing, but this is so cool. She seems as cool as Chill. I love her vibe. All right.
Thanks.
Anybody else want to put in the chat some question? Or, I mean, Isabella, this is really retail marketing right here. Like, straight on, literally, right? Open up for some more questions. Anybody? This is a quiet bunch. You're at the Tate? My gosh. I am super duper duper impressed. That's like, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, you know, I'm a bottom of the barrel, but it's still really good. Yeah, it's pretty big. It was my, like, I applied for quite a few jobs coming out of my master's, and this was the one that I wanted the most because it's also doing something I really enjoy. I like hanging galleries. Like, it's really fun. It's problem solving.
I'm so jealous because you know that I was a Getty intern, and one of the things that I want to do when I get older is do gallery work. And so the Tate, dang. So here are some questions in the chat. What film camera, disposable camera do you use?
So the disposable cameras, I was just using the like most basic one that you can get, like just at a drugstore. Like, I think they're Fuji or something. It's green packaging. But I did find recently Kimmy's going to grab one.
You get them on Amazon.
Kodak, isn't it? Yeah. So those are really good. I use those. But there also is, nowadays, there's one that you can get. I forget what it's called. But it's basically the body of a disposable camera, but you can change the film in it. So it works exactly the same as a disposable.
You got one too.
It works exactly the same as a disposable camera, but you can change the film, so you're not wasting the plastic every time, which it's on my Christmas list. I'm really hoping that I get it. But I think those work as well. I think you can look up reusable disposable camera, and it'll come up on the internet.
You should send the link to Miss G.
Yes, I can do that.
And me, because I want it too.
Yeah.
So what kind of film camera are you using, or are you using a film camera?
So currently I'm not using a film camera. To be honest, all of the photography I'm doing right now is pretty much with my iPhone. I pivoted hard and went pretty much purely iPhone. I've taken a break from film photography, one, because it's quite expensive. Outside of university and my master's program, it is not cheap to get film developed. And so I haven't been able to do that, especially just because I'm just so busy as well. But I've been using my phone quite a lot to shoot. All of the videos I shoot on equipment that's less than like $1,000 worth. So I've gone really quite low budget. But the thing is, this is gonna be like my main advice. I thought about this hard because this is something that I think is super important. The thing is, it's not the equipment that makes a photographer. It's the photographer that makes the photographer. The difference between you and like the next guy is that you decided that moment was worth capturing, and the next guy didn't. And that's what makes you a photographer, not the camera you have. So like that, if you take away nothing else from this whole thing, remember that, because that's my biggest piece of advice.
Wow.
Knowledge.
Wow. All right. I love that. Do you still have that Canon that you had back in high school?
I don't think I have that Canon, but so this is the camera. Oh my God, I haven't taken this out in ages, but this was the camera I did my undergraduate.
Is it a Rolly, or is that a?
It's a Mamiya.
Ah, the Mamiya.
Okay. Yeah, but basically, like, you look through this, and like what you're seeing through this lens, you can see through there. It's really cool.
I have a what do I have? The Yashica 645.
Yeah.
And I just borrowed this puppy. It's so heavy. The Mamiya RB67.
Yeah.
And I own the Mamiya 645, which I love that square frame.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the square frame. I like, literally, I don't know why, but it's ingrained in my head that square frame is just, it makes sense for everything. Like all of my Instagram stuff is square frame. I'm surprised my MA stuff was like 4x5 for some reason. I decided that was what I wanted it to be, which was very weird because I was all square before that.
Let's see. How long have you had a YouTube channel?
I started my YouTube channel in March 2019, so about a year and a half.
Wow, that's a lot of users for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
When did you start content creating, and have you always loved plants?
So I started content creating, like I said, March 2019. I decided that I wanted to go full out with that and go hard. And I've been working my butt off ever since. And of course, I've taken breaks and stuff. There's points during my job that I've been a bit too tired to do it. But
and then when I saw you at Target.
Yeah, when I took 3 weeks off to go home for Christmas. But I think I've always loved plants, but in California, you don't notice it as much because there's nature all around you. Like, and going on hikes and stuff is really easy. But now that I live in a big city like London, where it's so gray, like not even just the weather, like there's cement everywhere. Like, I'm such a nature person that I needed to bring nature into my life in some way, and it became houseplants. And I have way too many. it's borderline obsession worthy.
Next question. How quickly did you find your medium that you really felt experienced with?
I feel like the feeling experienced with is difficult. I think it takes a lot of practice, but you can get to experience in just about any medium that you want to work hard on. It's more about your willingness to try and be persistent, because you're never going to be good right away. It's really a miracle if you're good at something right away, or at least it is for me. And so it takes time and practice, and maybe like it depends how often you're doing it. Like it's taken me a year and a half to feel like I'm decent at Instagram. It just takes time, unfortunately. So just keep practicing and stick with it. And I take so many pictures that I don't post on the internet. I take so many pictures that I would never, ever, ever print out. And so just because this is the one you're seeing, it's not the whole story. Like that it's always going to be a practice. That's why they call it an art practice, not an art perfect.
Ooh, speak, child. Speak, child. That was a good one. That was a good one. It's all true. I was having some breakout room conversations with students today, and they really were struggling. They were struggling because they think they need to be art perfect. They think they need their art done. They don't understand. And we're doing AP photography, by the way, which I know you all wanted to do when you were
Jealous.
I know.
That's all I wanted.
I know, that's all you wanted. And it is about practice. And I feel the same way. I took this camera on a little test run, and out of the 10 frames, because they're 6x7, I didn't realize that. But by the time I took a whole bunch of photos, when I processed right in my kitchen, and I scanned them, and only 2 I liked. And the rest, like you said, I wouldn't show them. It just means that I get to take my camera out again and do it some more, and some more, and some more. And even after all the years I've been a photographer, studio, event, portrait, I still feel like I don't have the perfection down. It's always about the practice, honestly. That's a really good question, Cole, and a really good answer. Really good answer. Last question, and then we're going to move on. We're going to transition over to Kimmy. How long does it take you to compose a photo?
I think it depends if I've got an idea of what I want in my head. So let's just take this picture on the left here with the pot. So I think I shot that for about half an hour, but that was with that one pot, and I already knew that that's how I wanted it to be. And mind you, those are my hands, and I'm also taking the picture. So it takes a lot of trial and error to get the timings right and get the position right and get things right. And I took so many. I like for this shoot, I swear I probably took a couple hundred to get one. And like it takes a while. But the thing is, most of my Instagram pictures, like not the ones that I'm creating for a brand, like if we go, how do I go back? If we go to like those 5 minutes, think about it as like a quick study. How do I look at the details of these plants? How do I kind of abstract them? How do I make it about their form and their texture, not about, hey, plant. Like these are like the pileas are like, hey, it's a plant. Whereas these are more abstract, if that makes sense. So I think
great. I'm going to just interject something really quick. Grace, that's a great question, because for the AP portfolio, just how you even frame the question is how they have to frame their portfolio. How do I, and fill in the blank, how do I abstract these? How do I make these charismatic? How do I it's not plants. And then I think I'll take philodendrons. I think I'll take,
Yeah.
that is not the quest. The quest is really about how do I, and then fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And it's an inquiry, like,
Yeah, definitely.
awesomeness.
Thank you all so much for the lovely questions.
Thank you. Stick around. We are going to transition. And if you could just give me a little drum roll and introduce your pal here. I would
Yeah.
do that. And do it with a British accent.
Oh no, I can't do that. No, I can't. I can't. Too much pressure. So I would like to introduce you to one of my very best friends, someone I met in Miss G's class, the one, the only, the beautiful Kimmy Cotter.
Aw, thank you, friend. I guess just to give you a quick rundown of where I'm at now, where I started. So obviously, same as Emma, we were in the same photo classes, and now I'm full-time doing content creation. I own a media company, and that's just kind of where I'm at. But there was a lot in between high school and now for how I got here. So can you guys all see, is the screen sharing?
Great. This looks great.
Cool, let me just do this. Okay. So my start was in Photo 1 and 2 with Miss G's class. These are all photos that I did for projects for Miss G. I'm pretty sure you showed us Cindy Sherman doing self-portraits. So I was super inspired by that, but I also had a thing for Photoshop and photo surrealism. So in high school, I really explored that and getting creative. A lot of these were just taken in my own backyard with a tripod, and same as what Emma was talking about, what she's doing now, the trial and error. And then I would just hop into Photoshop and spend hours developing different ideas and seeing what I could create from basically nothing. So these were all super fun. I had a lot more time back then, so it was a lot of Photoshop and experimenting, but definitely take advantage of that time when you guys have the time. And then I was also super into music. I played guitar throughout high school as well, so I was constantly going to rock and metal shows around LA. So once I had a camera, I just started bringing that with me and trying to shoot and get in the photo pit at concerts. I think it was my senior year of high school, I actually got a publicist that ended up sending me to shows to shoot, which was really cool experience for me. I got to kind of combine my two passions. I was also super into landscape photography. So any family trips that we went on, I would just bring my camera. So this middle photo is from Hawaii, and it was just the beach, a sunset, just kind of a moment I wanted to capture and have for myself. So that was kind of my start, mainly concert photography, self-portraits, and then landscapes here and there whenever I had the opportunity. But then going into college, unlike Emma, my parents were not super supportive of me pursuing the arts. So they told me I had to pick a degree in something else. I ended up at Loyola Marymount University, which is not too far from you guys. And I was an entrepreneurship major, so a business degree. The cool thing with entrepreneurship that I didn't tell my parents was my goal is I still wanted to open a photography business. So my goal was always photography. As soon as I took Miss G's class, I knew it was something that I wanted to pursue. So for college, I decided a business background was the best way to get me there. I still pursued concert photography in college. That was kind of my main thing freshman year. And I actually ended up getting signed on by a couple more publicists. So I was going to even more shows outside of my classes. And I kind of developed a style with black and white photography, because I'm sure if you guys have been to shows, you see how crazy the lighting can be. So I ended up liking the simplicity of black and white and how it would focus you in on the musicians. And I kind of learned how to work with that lighting too. I just had a Rebel T3i and a 28mm lens. So I didn't really have much to work with gear wise. So I had to figure out how to make my images interesting. And that was figuring out the lighting, any props like the smoke on the image on the right, and then just watching how the musicians would move around so I could time it perfectly. But that was so much fun for me. It was a very challenging way to start photography, I think, because there's so much action and movement and you can't really control anything in this kind of setting. But I liked the challenge and it was something I loved anyways. So going to shows and shooting was just, again, my two favorite things anyways. But I did sneak in photography classes. So every semester I would kind of overload my business courses so that I could squeeze in a photo class. I did graduate with a minor in photography. So I was doing freelance outside of concerts. So the image on the left is for a clothing line that I shot for. I actually met them because of one of my business professors. They brought this person in to talk to us about starting a business, and I talked with them after class, told them I did photography, and they sent me a bunch of clothes and I did a marketing campaign, which was really fun. And I got to kind of experiment more with portrait work. The images on the right-hand side are film photography. That was the first course that I took at LMU for photo. I got to learn how to use film. So I used my dad's old Minolta film camera and just got to experiment with that. If you guys get the opportunity to do film, I highly recommend it because it kind of makes you step away from just snapping a bunch of photos and it forces you to focus on what you're capturing. So I really, really loved film photography in that aspect. And then my other favorite part of photo classes was learning how to work with studio lighting and actually getting to work with models, makeup artists, styling. That was a really great part of what LMU offered. And all of these are from different projects that I had to do. The middle one is actually one of my finals for a photo class at LMU. And I got to do a boudoir styled shoot. And I picked out all of the clothing, the models. I had a hair and makeup artist, and we got to actually rent the lighting gear from LMU, which was great because I didn't have access to that ever before. And this location actually didn't have any power. So I had to work with batteries and everything, which was, I'm not very techie, so this was a challenge, but I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. And then my junior year at LMU, I actually started 2 companies with one of my best friends. We started a clothing line called Lazy Kids Clothing, and then we started a media company, Passion Over Profit Studios. So the clothing company you can see in the top left image, that's my business partner from college. His name is Forrest, and he is modeling all of the clothes that we created. So we had hats, bomber jackets, sweatshirts, and then t-shirts. He was the mastermind behind all of the designs. So we had like the sweatshirt says educated and it's in the Google lettering and colors. And it was kind of satirical in a way where it's supposed to kind of poke fun of, are you educated or are you just Googling it? So that was a really fun process, developing our own clothing line and figuring out how do you get the clothes, how do you do the designs, how do you get everything made. So we definitely learned a lot from that. And then for the media company that we ran, over all of our breaks, so like spring break, winter break, we were trying to work with different brands and create marketing campaigns for them. So Hit Case, the bottom left image, was a phone case that we worked with. They were marketing a really durable, waterproof phone case, kind of meant for travelers. And then Even Headphones, that's actually Emma in the right image. Even Headphones was a really cool tech brand. They actually created headphones that when you put them on, you have to take a hearing test with them. And then they adjust the volume of everything to your specific hearing, which is really cool technology. Super fun brand to work with. So actually all of these images were taken, I think in Oregon or Northern California, a mix of the two. The 3 of us went on a road trip, brought all of these products with us and just did a bunch of marketing campaigns while traveling, which was really cool. But after a year of freelancing after college, kind of got hit with the reality of bills and having to pay for things. So Forrest and I decided that we had to kind of put our companies to the side, and we both ended up getting 9-to-5 jobs in order to fund what we wanted to do. So I went from working for myself, owning my own companies, to doing administrative assistant work, basically filing papers at Black House Hospitality Group, which is a restaurant management company based in Hermosa Beach. Literally for 8 hours a day, I was just doing paperwork, which was not fun, but I saw it as an opportunity to learn how to build and grow my own businesses, because you learn a lot of that in business school, but it's so different from the reality of starting a business. There's so much you have to know. And if it's just you or a couple of people, experience kind of trumps everything. Like, you have to know what you're doing. And I saw Black House as my opportunity to learn that. So I became really close with the owner of Black House Hospitality Group and the director of operations. And I want to say within a few months, I went from being an administrative assistant to an operations manager. I was basically running 8 different restaurants, everything from accounting to financials to their HR, so hiring and firing people. And I also went to court for them a couple of times and represented them legally. I worked with their lawyer several times, and she kind of directed me what to do in court, which was definitely a learning experience, a little intimidating, but I learned so much through Black House. And of course, I didn't give up on photography while I was there. So I did manage to convince the owner to hire me to be their in-house photographer. So outside of my 9-to-5 job, I would clock out and then clock in under my media company, and I would be shooting for all 8 locations. So I did all of their marketing for 8 different restaurants outside of being on their corporate team. So kind of like what Emma was saying, the struggle was definitely real. You're working really long hours, but you make the time to do what you love. And it was actually really fun learning how to do restaurant photography and working with food and styling everything. As you guys can see from these images, the restaurants were really beautiful. I mean, they were all very trendy, well thought out concepts. So it made my job a little bit easier. But after 2 years at Black House, I met my new business partner, and we both decided to quit our 9-to-5 jobs and pursue a media company again. So new business partner, new media company, but same goal, which was to make this full time. All of these images on this page are from our biggest client that we signed on, I want to say a couple of weeks after I quit my job. His name is Phelan. He's actually based in Vegas. So we go to Vegas every other month to do marketing campaigns with him. He's starting up 8 different companies because he's kind of crazy, but it's fun for us because we're doing the branding and marketing for each of those companies. The ones that you see here are primarily for a leather company that he's starting called Zephyr Aero Leather. And he has a bunch of different lines within that company. So he wants to do stuff for airplane pilots, travelers, motorcyclists. So we get to kind of experiment in different locations and see how we can market all of his leather products. And this is another one of his companies. He's also doing a motorcycle brand. So he's going to be selling motorcycles and merchandise. This one is still relatively new and in the works, so he doesn't have much product yet, but he is incorporating the leather bags. So you can see in the left image, the girl's wearing one of his leather backpacks. So this one's really fun to shoot and work for. It's definitely more grungy and kind of more my style of branding. So this one's really fun to shoot for. And then this is a company that we actually shot for about a week ago. The brand is called Flawed and Fit, and the owner is this person over here on the right. Her name is Maria, and super cool. She is also 25 years old. So she's the same age as me, and she's starting her own fitness line. She's been doing personal training for a few years now. And in COVID, she decided to also take the leap. She quit her job that she was doing on the side, and now she's coming out with her own fitness wear and different merchandise and everything. So this is her campaign to start the launch of her website and everything. So yeah, we did this a week ago. It was a very short shoot because of COVID. So we had to do social distancing and everything and kind of adjust how we do things, but super fun and really happy with how this turned out. And then this is another brand that I'm working with. We are kind of focusing on the health and fitness industry right now. So that's why you're seeing a lot of this. This is a brand called Kona, and it's owned by two women who I believe are still in college. So younger than me, I want to say they're 23. And their whole goal is to provide affordable and cute fitness wear so it's more accessible, because a lot of fitness wear is pretty expensive these days. So they wanted to kind of make it more accessible to more people, which was super fun to work with. They're definitely different from the brand I just showed you because they're more about outdoorsy and beachy. So this marketing campaign was completely different from Flawed and Fit, but love how these turned out. We shot this in Malibu, and we're also working on video. So that's kind of our new thing. This is still a raw video that we're still editing, but this is for Kona and their new merchandise that they're coming out with. Definitely a fun experience. Video is an entirely different beast, but we're trying to expand what we can offer to our clients. So we don't want to just do photo campaigns. We want to do commercials and ads for companies as well. So this is kind of the start of that for us. But outside of paid work, I still make as much time as possible to do shoots for fun. So all of these shoots are just with friends or family, and just so I can kind of exercise portrait work. Portraits are now my new favorite thing to shoot. I don't really do concerts anymore, but shooting with friends like this and just exploring around us is so much fun. The image on the left is actually from a hike that we did a couple weeks ago. We just found this location at sunset. We were actually scouting for a Kona shoot that we were going to do, but it turned into a photo shoot in itself, which was super fun. And then my media company, when COVID is not a thing, we are also hosting photo meetups, which I love to do because this industry is really about collaborating and networking with other creatives and just different people. So we like to host photo meetups around LA. We just pick a location and it's open to anyone and everyone. And it's just a way to bring people together and kind of see what we can create without any pressure. So we'll have upwards of 20 to 30 people come out to these meetups, and we just all kind of connect with one another. It's a bunch of photographers, models. This guy in the middle of the photo that's doing the backflip, he does stunting for movies. So he just comes out and does flips and stuff for us to take photos of. And on the right is Frankie. He's actually a really good friend of mine. He's a magician. He works at Magic Castle, which is super cool. And that photo is actually his idea. So he came to me and said that he wanted to do an image where his legs would be disappearing and becoming cards. So we just met up in downtown LA, and this is what we came up with. But shoots like this are so much fun because you're working with other people, you're getting different ideas. It's not just coming from you. It's not a paid gig for a client. There's no pressure, and it's just fun. And it kind of goes back into what I was doing with photo surrealism and the beginning of what I was doing back into Photoshop, and just kind of having fun and seeing what I could create out of pretty much nothing. And then this is all just some personal work, just exploring with friends and family again. I think this stuff is really important to me because it's taking the time to appreciate photography and what it means to me outside of working. I think something that I'm always scared of is I don't want to overwork myself and kind of lose my passion or my love for photography. So it's really refreshing to take the time and just explore and just shoot for fun. So the image on the left was actually taken a couple weeks ago. That's my business partner in the frame. We moved to Calabasas at the beginning of COVID, but we didn't have the opportunity to explore our area. So now that we're kind of stuck inside and you can't really do too much, we take the time to do little day trips and just go shoot for fun. We don't necessarily have a location in mind. We just kind of get in the car and just see what we find. So that's a shot we took in Malibu a couple weeks ago. In the middle is actually a shot of Emma. We went to Joshua Tree when she came to visit a year ago. We just got a cute Airbnb and just did photos for fun, just for memories. And I like to do photo albums and stuff too. So I like to print these images out and just keep them for myself. The image on the right was also taken over COVID. My business partner has an app, I think it's called Explorist, and it tells you different locations around your area that are really cool to shoot, and it gives you examples of what it looks like. So that's where we found that spot. It was just a short hike off of the road, and that's what we were able to document, which was really cool. Definitely a spot I want to go back to do night photography too, and do some long exposures with the cars going by. But yeah, that's pretty much sums up where I'm at now and kind of my whole journey of how I got here.
That's super exciting. When you went back to those first photos, I remember how obsessed you were with Photoshop.
Oh
And
yeah.
I also remember how obsessed you were with locations.
Yeah.
And you would tell me that I look at your photos, I'm like, where did you take that? And you would say, well, I found this house, it was abandoned. I'm like, you went inside? Do you remember that?
I do. I mean, Emma was also a part of that too. Once you connected the two of us, I mean, anytime we had an opportunity to go somewhere, I mean, we got kicked out of a couple places because we were trying to use smoke bombs and stuff too. Always being creative and trying new things.
That's right. You guys were quite the team. I remember that abandoned building. That was something else. So, because you asked me about lighting, and I was like, well, what do you need to know about lighting? And you said, well, we're going to this abandoned building. We saw it on the road on the, I think it was the Pasadena freeway. There was this abandoned building, Miss G. And I'll never forget that. Thank you so much. What beautiful work. What beautiful, beautiful work. Thank you so much. So let's open it up for questions. And we're right on time, actually. We have since we started at 3:05, we'll probably end at about 4:05. So if there are any questions, go ahead and post them in the chat and I'll be glad to ask them to our wonderful guests who came today to share such I'm tearing up because they're great memories and also a fantastic work. How you guys have evolved from my class where you guys were just hanging out and I would say, do your work to where you are now, where you're making this fabulous work. So please ask away if you have any questions of Kimmy. What is your favorite thing about photography?
Oh man, I feel like there's so many favorite things. I feel like it's where photography has taken me and like the people it's connected me with. Like even just the images on this page, like I would not have gone to any of these locations or shot these moments if it weren't for the people in them and photography in general. It's really taken me a lot of places. And otherwise I probably would have been stuck at an office job, probably still at Black House. So I think that's my favorite thing is just the opportunities it's provided me with.
I think also, from what I can recall, I remember you going to your first concert and you were asking me a bunch of questions and I said, you just go, you just walk up to the front. The camera is your power. And you looked at me like, the camera's my power? I'm like, yes, as long as you have a camera, you can just walk right up to the front. And you came back and you told me it worked.
Oh yeah. Having a camera and confidence confidence is key. I have gotten away with so many things just because you have to act like you belong in order to get the shot you want.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that very much. Some more questions, please. Tao, I know you've got a question.
No, not really.
Tao is a freshman and he is going to be bomb. He's going to be bomb. Let's see, what other artists do you look up to?
Oh man, there's so many. I mean, I'm constantly on Instagram too. I think Em and I are both kind of forced into that world, which is different. If you guys are looking for someone to watch on YouTube or anything, there's Peter McKinnon is a great YouTuber. I think he's focusing a lot on cinematography now, but he's super inspiring to me and just kind of keeps me going a lot of times. He's very creative. There's a whole bunch of photographers actually. If you follow him, it's going to recommend you to Chris Howe, Lizzie Pierce. There's a bunch of creatives that have their own media companies that are doing this full time. So those are kind of the people that I look to. I can send you some of these people, Miss G, too, so you can kind of look over them, because if you're looking to do what I'm doing when it comes to content creation and working with brands, like those are the people I look to, are the ones that are starting up their media companies and finding success in working with brands. But there's a lot of them out there. I don't think that there's one person I look to anymore, because with these days, so many people are creating content that I'm constantly every day finding new people that inspire me.
I looked at Kimmy. No joke. Like she's got the mind of like an entrepreneur, and it's brilliant. And I've got no idea what I'm doing in terms of business because I've gone to art school, which is totally fine. But Kimmy, she knows it. So whenever I'm like, how do I market myself? I'm like, Kimmy, help. And she helps me.
I mean,
So
honestly,
find yourself friends like Kimmy who complement your strengths.
find people that get you.
Yes.
And understand what you're doing. Emma and I are doing completely different things at this point, but I wouldn't be where I'm at if it weren't for Miss G and Emma. I mean, that's my support system, and my business partner as well. And he comes from a completely different background too. But when we come together, if there's anything we're struggling with, like, I know that Emma's got my back. I know my business partner, Miss G. Like, find people that understand what you're passionate about and are willing to support you to find success.
Nicely said. Thank you. All right, so we're going to wrap it up. If there are any more questions, I would appreciate seeing them now. I really appreciate you all sharing where you are, and really, really thankful that you came to class. I'm sure, Grace, Sunny, that you all, Isabel, taken aback by how far you can go from where you are. I know a lot of students want to be where you are right now, and they don't realize how much time it takes. You used to spend hours, both of you, in Photoshop, and half the time I didn't teach you Photoshop. You learned it. You would learn it on your own. Then you showed me something.
Google is the best tool. You can find anything on Google.
That's so
YouTube
true.
tutorials. You can do anything if you go on YouTube.
Do you remember those horrible computers we had to work with on the third floor?
They're awful.
Oh my God, they were always crashing. They never worked. Ugh.
Photoshop is so slow.
So bad.
It's terrible. And at home now, these kids are working on Photo P if they don't have Photoshop, and which I don't know how they're not getting sued because they look so much like Photoshop.
Yeah.
But we're getting there. And I have one question for both of you before we end, and that is, how do you keep motivated? I had a couple of students ask me today, or tell me that they were just not motivated. Like they just don't have any idea how to kickstart themselves. So if you have any suggestions, especially during COVID times, how do you keep motivated?
I can go first if you want.
Yeah.
Lacking motivation. First, I want to say that is totally normal. I've lost a lot of motivation to do all of my fine art stuff. I haven't picked up my film camera since I graduated, and that's okay. I'm on a little bit of a break from my film stuff, but I know that it'll always be there. And I know it's difficult because like you've got a class to do and assignments. And so when I was struggling in classes, I would take my camera and I would go on a walk. And even if I didn't, like I would take pictures on the walk. And even if I didn't find anything on the walk, the act of walking and thinking about using my photographic brain would like give me ideas for maybe like a portrait or a landscape that I wanted to take or a product thing. And so that sort of using those photographic muscles, like even if you don't get any good pictures, it'll help.
Good advice. Thank you.
I mean, for me too, every day I struggle. And it, especially with COVID, I mean, a lot of our clients can't afford marketing. So for us, it's been really difficult, but I will say like little things like this. I got this camera. I have 5 or 6 of these. And it's just taking the time to appreciate the little moments and document because you love to. And like if it's an assignment that you're not really feeling and you just feel like you're not motivated, you're not inspired, you don't have anything you want to shoot, do what I did. Go shoot for fun. Even if you don't want to do it, just force yourself. Like all of these photos that you see down below, I mean, I didn't want to go out to Malibu the day that I took the picture on the left. I wanted to stay home in my pajamas watching TV because COVID has drained me and I wasn't feeling inspired. But if I didn't get in the car and just go, that image would have never happened. And this is one of my favorite photos from COVID right now. So it's really just do it. Even if you aren't feeling it in the moment, just do it. And you'll be surprised at what you can create.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. So let us go back to the gallery view and let us please thank our guests today for coming today. Give a clap in the that sounds weird. Give a clap in the chat and thank them for coming in. I really, really appreciate your time. And yeah, you guys are super, super inspiring. You inspire me. You bring me to tears because I am just super, super, super proud of you and also motivated by you. And when I grow up, I want to be just like you. So to
Make me cry.
the content create, we've been through a lot. All of us, we've been through a lot.
So much.
So thank you so much for spending some time. And it's probably about midnight where you are and past midnight. So
I have to get up at 6 tomorrow to edit my video before work.
Okay, all right. So we'll let you go. But thank you so much. I really love you and appreciate you and watch you on Instagram. I spent 3 hours looking at YouTube videos. So, because I had this plant and I didn't know what to do with it. And I was like, Emma knows. And I was actually talking to Kimmy. I'm like, I got sucked into like a 3-hour vortex. So really, really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miss G, for inviting us here. Just speaking for myself, I know that you're really honestly one of my biggest inspirations when it came to photography, and you really pushed me to keep pursuing it. And all of you students of Miss G, like she is one of the best resources, and she's always going to be in your corner. So enjoy having her as a teacher while you can, because you'll miss her when you can.
Appreciate her. You are so lucky. So lucky. I would not be here if it weren't for Miss G.
Neither would I.
I also wouldn't be friends with Emma. Neither of us would be here.
Well, I thought it would be perfect to have you two together because it was like you two were like, ugh. But it's so much fun to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. G.
All right, we are out. We will be back here after the break, I think, because on the 15th of December, they start their finals. And you know, LC, everybody's going to be cracking a book. So we will see you soon, and happy holiday. And thank you so much for everything that you do. Peace. Get some sleep.
Bye.
Bye. That was so much fun. All right, this is when we stop recording now.
So one of my favorite assignments for my high school students sometimes is if they're stuck, I have them like stand in a single spot with their camera and take every possible picture they can from that spot. Like think of everything that they could possibly get and like think about all the different angles and like not move your feet. You can't move your feet, but you have to take pictures and you have to take 50. Okay, you have to take 50 pictures and they all have to be different. They can't just be like 50 of the same thing. And you go through and in the end there's going to be at least one or two in there that look decent. And so that like forces them to think, okay, I didn't move and I got one or two images that are okay. So like imagine what I could do if I moved my feet. If I I like this picture, but if I took a step to the left, I would like the framing more, like stuff like that. And it kind of works that muscle in a sort of like very regimented way.
Cool. I like that.